We chase clarity as though it was safety, as if understanding why things happen would grant us peace. But life is more like a river than a puzzle. You don't have to solve a river to float in it. Trying to make perfect sense of life may delay your participation in it. Sometimes meaning comes not before the experience, but after you've walked through it. Living doesn't always require answers. It requires presence. When you're becoming someone new, something old must give way. That process isn't gentle. The loss of familiar patterns, relationships, beliefs, these are like internal earthquakes. But what feels like collapse is often transformation. Like a seed breaking to sprout, or a bone setting itself anew, your pain can be part of the realignment into something stronger, more whole. Your life is your work of art. Every decision, reaction, and belief chisels a little more of who you are. But you're also the raw material, full of potential, depth, and hidden form. Life gives you the tools: love, loss, boredom, beauty. You shape yourself through your response to those tools. In that, there is freedom and responsibility. People say, give it time. But some wounds linger indefinitely. Time merely gives space between the event and your current self. What heals is your ability to face the pain, acknowledge it, and loosen your grip on how things should have been. Acceptance doesn't mean approval or forgetting. It means releasing your need to resist reality. From there, peace begins. We spend most of our lives in memory or anticipation, yet every joy, sorrow, decision, or connection only ever occurs in a single, unrepeatable moment. Now, the present is quiet. It doesn't shout for your attention like the future does, but it's where your breath happens, your hands, your sight. Learning to return to this moment again and again is the practice of being truly alive. Even in our most intimate relationships, we are never fully known. People interpret you through the lens of their own wounds, stories, and expectations. That gap between who you are and how you're seen can hurt. But the work of life is not to be perfectly understood, but to love despite the gaps. Compassion in misunderstanding is one of the most radical things you can offer. We often try to ignore death, but it is the silent measure of life's worth. Knowing that time is finite, that every conversation could be the last, that every sunrise is one fewer, presses us to show up more fully. It calls us to love without delay, to forgive faster, to cherish the ordinary. Without death, we might never realize how extraordinary being alive really is. You are a consciousness in a vast, indifferent cosmos. It doesn't revolve around fairness or logic. It simply is. Seeking order can comfort us, but real peace comes from embracing the mystery. When you stop demanding answers, you begin to feel the poetry of existence. You can be surrounded by people and feel invisible. True connection isn't about presence, but resonance. It happens when someone sees the parts of you that even you don't have words for. Until then, learn to be deeply connected to yourself. That's where all love begins. Every breath is unpromised. Every laugh, every hug, every night under the stars. It's all fleeting. That isn't meant to scare you, but to wake you. Stop saving your joy for later. Later isn't guaranteed. This moment is your life. We're taught to achieve, prove, perform, to be more. But love is not a reward for excellence. It is a response to truth. You are enough, even when you're tired, lost, or quiet. Especially then. Pain doesn't mean you're doing life wrong. It means you are feeling deeply, caring deeply, hoping deeply. Don't rush to escape it. Sit with it. Let it teach you. The more you feel, the more alive you are. The mind is a time traveler. It revisits old wounds and imagines new ones. But the present moment rarely holds the terror we expect. If you can return to your breath, your body, your senses, you'll find most monsters vanish in the light of now. You don't need to fix every broken part of you. You need to gather them, honor them, and make space for them in your story. Your cracks don't ruin you. They reveal your depth. You are not a puzzle to be completed, but a mosaic to be witnessed. There is no universal timeline for growth, love, or success. Life unfolds at its own rhythm, and your pace is valid. Just because someone else bloomed earlier doesn't mean your spring won't come. You are becoming in ways the world cannot yet see. You were worthy the moment you were born. Before achievements, before mistakes, before identity. The world may have taught you to forget that, but deep down, something in you still knows. Come home to that knowing. Rest is not laziness. Stillness is not failure. You don't exist to justify your being through doing. You are allowed to exist simply as a human, breathing, feeling, being. That's enough. It doesn't come from loud confidence or perfect posture. It's quiet. It's the way you show up for yourself on hard days. It's how gently you speak to yourself after you've fallen. It's how you refuse to abandon yourself, no matter who else does. Your feelings, your voice, your dreams, none of them are too much. You don't need to shrink to be accepted. The right people will not be intimidated by your fullness. They will welcome it. Rejection is a mirror of someone else's needs, not a verdict on your value. You are not less because someone couldn't see your light. Your light remains. Keep shining. In a world that often praises hardness, your sensitivity, your kindness, your vulnerability, they are sacred. Strength isn't always steel. Sometimes strength is staying open in a world that taught you to close. We often treat ourselves like projects, constantly editing, improving, fixing. But you're not broken. You are a living narrative, with chapters that twist and turn. Some parts are messy, some beautiful, some still being written. And none of it disqualifies you from love or peace. You are allowed to exist as an incomplete sentence. You are allowed to be both the question and the answer. From a young age, we're taught to prove our worth, to be good enough, smart enough, beautiful enough. But the truth is, your existence is already a miracle. Think of the billions of events that had to occur for you to be here in this exact moment as you are. You are not here by accident. You belong, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You are not a guest in life. You are part of its fabric. Sometimes we chase healing, thinking it means changing everything, our habits, our bodies, our personalities. But healing is often quieter than that. It's the soft return to yourself after years of abandoning your truth. It's remembering what you loved as a child. It's forgiving yourself for not knowing better. It's choosing to listen to your own voice, even when it shakes. Healing doesn't require you to transform. It asks only that you return to presence, to honesty, to home. Comparison tells you you're late. It points to others' success, their love stories, their milestones. But life is not a straight line with fixed checkpoints. It's a song, your song. And just because someone else's music is louder doesn't mean yours isn't beautiful. You are allowed to move at your own tempo. You are allowed to dance to your own beat. You are not behind. You're exactly where you need to be to become who you're meant to become. Sometimes we think we can't love ourselves unless we've fixed everything. But self-love is not the reward at the end of healing. It's the companion during it. You can hold space for change and still honor who you are now. You can strive for better while appreciating your strength today. Growth doesn't mean hating your current self. It means loving yourself enough to imagine more. When you begin to think deeply about the universe, the first thing you realize is how little we truly understand. It's not just the size of it, although that alone is staggering. It's the fact that we exist inside something that has no clear edge, no fixed center, and possibly no limit. And yet, here we are, trying to comprehend it with brains evolved to survive on one small planet. The observable universe is about 93 billion light-years across, but that's only what we can see. Beyond that, we don't know. It might go on forever. It might curve back in on itself. We're not sure. Our best instruments are limited. Our minds are even more limited. And yet, we keep asking questions. What is the universe made of? Mostly things we can't see. About 95% of the known universe is made up of dark matter and dark energy. Things we don't fully understand. The stars, planets, and galaxies we can see make up a tiny fraction of everything that exists. It's like reading one sentence from a book and trying to guess the entire plot. The universe is also incredibly old. It began nearly 14 billion years ago in an event we call the Big Bang. But even calling it a bang is misleading. There was no explosion in space. Space itself was created and expanded. Time itself began. It didn't happen in something. It was the beginning of everything. And still, that doesn't tell us why it happened or what was there before. Those are questions that go beyond physics. They touch on philosophy, maybe even spirituality. The universe may have no reason at all, or maybe the reason is something we're not yet equipped to understand. Then there's the question of life. Earth is the only place we know of where life exists, but statistically, it's almost certain we're not alone. The universe is simply too big, too full of stars and planets, for this to be the only place where biology took hold. And that opens up even more questions. Is intelligent life common? Or are we a rare accident of chemistry and time? When you think about the universe long enough, you start to feel two things at once: an overwhelming sense of insignificance and a surprising sense of connection. Yes, we are small, but we are also part of it. We're not standing outside the universe looking in. We're inside it, made of it. The atoms in your body were created in stars. The hydrogen in your cells is older than the Earth. You're not separate from the universe. You are the universe, briefly arranged into a form that can ask questions. That fact, that we are self-aware beings in a universe that seems otherwise silent, is deeply strange. And maybe it's meaningful. Maybe meaning isn't something we find in the universe. Maybe it's something we bring to it. The universe may not care about us. It doesn't have to. It gave us the raw material, and somehow, that was enough. We exist. We can think. We can feel awe. And in the vast, cold, and mostly empty cosmos, those abilities matter. Because in a universe that is mostly dark, mostly empty, and mostly silent, awareness is the rarest thing of all. Imagine you're standing outside at night. The sky stretches out above you, vast, silent, and endless. You look up, and somewhere deep inside, you feel it. That quiet tension between how small you are and how large everything else is. The universe doesn't ask for your attention. It doesn't need it. And yet when you give it a moment, just a quiet second of honest thought, it unfolds in ways your mind almost can't hold. You live on a planet, spinning around a star, tucked into a galaxy among billions. And that galaxy is drifting through space alongside countless others. each with stars, planets, and maybe life, or maybe not. We don't know yet. That's one of the truths of the universe. It gives us questions faster than it gives us answers. The deeper we look, the stranger it gets. We find black holes that distort space and time, galaxies moving apart as the universe expands, particles popping in and out of existence in the quantum vacuum, a kind of cosmic static beneath reality. And all of this exists without a clear reason why. Sometimes we talk about the universe like it's a thing, an object with shape and structure. But in reality, it's not just everything around you. It's everything that could possibly be. It's not out there, separate. You are inside it, made of it. The atoms in your body came from stars. You are literally stardust, conscious of itself, asking questions in a language the stars will never speak. And that's strange, because the universe, as far as we know, doesn't have intentions. It doesn't have feelings. It's not cruel or kind, it just is. And still, from that silent void, something woke up. Life, thought, you. You exist for a blink of time on a rock orbiting a single star. And yet your mind can reach across light years. You can look at a photo of a galaxy millions of years away and somehow feel something real. Wonder, curiosity, connection. No other species we know of builds telescopes to see across time. No other animal tries to explain gravity or dark energy. That doesn't make us superior, it just makes us rare. Rare enough to ask, why does any of this exist? Why is there something rather than nothing? We might never know. Maybe the answer doesn't exist in the way we expect. Maybe the question is part of the beauty. The universe doesn't owe us meaning, but we keep reaching anyway. Not because we expect something back, but because it's what we do. It's who we are. And maybe, in the end, that reaching is the meaning. When you think about the universe, not as an abstract idea, but as a real physical place, something begins to shift. You start with where you are, on a planet that's small by cosmic standards, orbiting an average star, positioned in one spiral arm of a galaxy that's one among billions. And yet somehow, from this quiet place, you have the capacity to wonder about everything, about stars, time, beginnings, and endings. That in itself is extraordinary. We're not outside the universe, observing it from a distance. We're inside it, made from it. Every atom in your body was created long before Earth even formed, forged in stars that lived and died in cycles that stretch across billions of years. Those atoms traveled through time and space, and now they make up you. We don't often feel like that matters. Most of our daily lives take place in small spaces, following patterns we don't always question. But beneath all of it, beyond our jobs, routines, and technology, we are floating in the middle of an expanding universe. And that universe, it's mostly dark, mostly cold, and vast beyond imagination. But here's what's remarkable. Out of all that silence and entropy, somehow, awareness emerged. Life, thought. People who not only survive, but reflect, who try to understand what's really going on. The universe doesn't appear to have intention or meaning. It doesn't appear to care, but that doesn't make it empty. It makes it real and strange and full of questions that we're just starting to ask. And here's the paradox. In a universe where most things are unconscious, where galaxies form and collapse without anyone noticing, you are alive. You care, you notice, you look up, and you wonder. That might be the rarest thing the universe has ever done. You don't have to be the center of everything to matter. You just have to be aware that you're a part of it. that you're made of it, that you're conscious for a short time in a reality that stretches far beyond your senses. And maybe you'll never know the full story. Maybe no one ever will. But even so, the fact that you're asking, the fact that you care to look outward and inward at the same time, means something. Because in a universe that doesn't owe us anything, it gave us just enough to wonder. And in the quiet of that wondering, we begin to understand what kind of beings we are. There's something quietly unsettling and also strangely comforting about stepping back and considering the universe as it really is. We live on a planet that seems stable, familiar, but zoom out just a little and it becomes clear how temporary everything is. Civilizations rise and fall. Species come and go. Even mountains erode and stars eventually die. And yet we live most of our lives without truly noticing the scale of time we're a part of. The universe is not just old, it's ancient in a way that's hard to process. It began about 13.8 billion years ago. That number doesn't mean much at first. But imagine this. If the entire history of the universe were compressed into a single calendar year, all of human history would happen in the final seconds of December 31st. Every person you've ever heard of, every discovery, war, book, invention, every moment would occur in less than a blink. And yet, here we are, not only existing, but conscious of the fact that we exist. That's not trivial. That's not an accident we should ignore. It's easy to feel small in the face of all this. And we are, physically speaking. But being small doesn't mean being meaningless. The vastness of the universe doesn't make your life irrelevant. If anything, it makes your awareness more rare, more delicate, more precious. Because the universe isn't full of life. It's full of potential. But as far as we know, life, especially intelligent life, is uncommon, maybe extremely rare. And that makes what we do with our time all the more important. It's unlikely the universe has a built-in purpose. It doesn't seem to operate with goals or values, but you do. You can make meaning, you can choose what matters and how you treat others and what kind of mark, however small, you leave behind. And that matters, because while the stars may not notice your choices, you do. The people around you do, and those choices echo far beyond what you can measure. Maybe that's what makes us unique. Not our intelligence, but our ability to live with full knowledge of our impermanence and still care deeply. Maybe meaning doesn't come from being eternal or central. Maybe it comes from understanding just how temporary we are and choosing to act with kindness, curiosity, and wonder anyway. The universe doesn't give us instructions. It just gives us space, time, and raw material. What we build from that is up to us. Sometimes, late at night, when everything around you is quiet, you remember that you're not just in a room or a house or even a city. You're on a sphere, spinning through space at over 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting a massive star. And that star is drifting through the galaxy with hundreds of billions of others, all of them surrounded by dust, planets, ice, and the unknown. It's strange how easy it is to forget that. The universe doesn't ask you to think about it. It's perfectly content to keep expanding in silence. No pressure, no expectations, just vastness. And you, a single mind with a limited lifespan, happen to be aware of it. That's rare, possibly one of the rarest things that has ever occurred. We talk about feeling alone in the universe, but maybe we've misunderstood what that means. You aren't alone in the universe, you are alone with it. You're sharing the same timeline, the same laws of physics, the same origin. Everything you are, from the calcium in your bones to the iron in your blood, came from a star that died before the Earth was even born. You are, in every literal sense, made of the universe. You're not visiting it, you're part of it. And yet, you think, you worry, you make plans, you create things that didn't exist before. You form memories, you love. All of that, all those experiences, somehow emerge from the same particles and forces that shape galaxies. No one knows why that happens, why consciousness emerged, why we feel anything at all. Science can describe what happens, but not always why it feels the way it does. And maybe it's not supposed to. Maybe part of being human is sitting with the unknown, not solving it, but noticing it. Accepting that mystery doesn't mean failure, but possibility. The universe doesn't guarantee comfort or answers. It offers complexity, beauty, danger, time. And from that, we make meaning. We build lives, however brief, that can still hold value, even if the stars don't acknowledge it. You're not central to the cosmos, but you're not irrelevant either. You are a tiny piece of it that can feel joy and loss and curiosity. And maybe that's enough. Maybe it's more than enough. There's a kind of honesty in the universe that's hard to describe. It doesn't pretend. It doesn't flatter or explain. It just exists. Vast, silent, indifferent. And yet, in that indifference, there's something strangely beautiful. Everything you've ever seen or touched is part of the same framework. The laws that move planets also move blood through your veins. The atoms that built the first stars are the same ones building your body now. That's not metaphor. It's not poetic language. It's physics. It's chemistry. It's the quiet architecture of reality at work. And in all of that, in this grand, ancient system, we are conscious. Somehow, without knowing how or why, the universe has produced something that can question it. Something that doesn't just react, but reflects. That's you. That's us. You might never fully understand what dark matter is, or how time began, or whether this universe is just one among many. But maybe understanding isn't the most important part. Maybe witnessing is enough. Maybe noticing is the first and final human gift. You look at the stars and wonder what's out there, but rarely do we stop and wonder what it means to be here, right now, able to wonder at all. The universe has no known edge, no up or down, no center, but within it, there are brief, fleeting moments of clarity, like the one you're having now, where the scale of it all falls into place, and your existence feels both impossibly small and deeply connected. That tension between insignificance and intimacy is where meaning lives. You weren't promised this life. You weren't promised answers, but you're here, thinking about it, feeling something as you do. That might be the most profound thing the universe has ever done. We often live as if the universe is in the background, something distant, disconnected from our lives. But it's not. The universe isn't out there. It's everything. It's the air you're breathing, the light reaching your eyes, the cells that make up your skin. Every part of your body is made from particles that have existed since the beginning of time. They've passed through stars, dust clouds, ancient collisions, and now, for a little while, they're arranged into you. That's not just poetic. That's a quiet, scientific truth, one that most of us forget as we move through the details of the day. We forget that the Earth is spinning, that space is stretching, that we are floating on a rock through a darkness that is mostly empty. And yet somehow, in that emptiness, things emerge, galaxies form, stars burn, planets coalesce, life appears, and at least once, maybe only once, that life became aware of the very place it came from. It looked around and up and inward and asked, "What is this?" We are the only part of the universe we know of that can question its own existence. That's not something to take lightly. Even if we don't have all the answers, even if we never find them, the fact that we can ask is extraordinary. You are a temporary arrangement of matter in a universe that has no known end, and yet that temporary form has the power to feel, to love, to fear, to wonder. That makes you small, yes, but not insignificant. You are brief, but not pointless. You are alone in some ways, but never truly separate from the thing you came from. The universe doesn't speak in words. It speaks in patterns, gravity, light, time. And maybe the fact that you're here, noticing all of this, feeling all of this, is the closest thing to an answer we'll ever get. Maybe we're not meant to control the universe. Maybe we're just meant to witness it. And somehow, that's enough.
There are moments in life, quiet, unexpected, when a strange thought rises to the surface. What if the universe isn't real? Not fake, not artificial, but not quite what we think it is. What if the stars above, the space around us, and the time we swim through are all just part of a beautiful illusion? Most of us never ask. We grow up believing the world we see is the world that exists. Concrete, reliable, measurable. But we forget something simple and strange. We never experience reality directly. Everything we know, every color, sound, texture, and thought is filtered through the lens of our perception. Your eyes don't see the world, they see light. Your ears don't hear the world, they detect vibrations. Your brain doesn't show you truth, it shows you a model. A version of reality designed to help you survive, not necessarily to understand. The stars that fill the night sky, you're not seeing them. You're seeing light that left those stars millions of years ago, processed and interpreted by your nervous system. That light touched your eye, became electricity, and somewhere deep in your mind, it was turned into meaning. So what are you actually seeing? Not the star itself, but your brain's best guess, a hallucination. Stable, shared, consistent, but still a hallucination. And if your entire experience of the universe is mediated by your own awareness, then where exactly is this universe located? You've never stepped outside your own consciousness, never stood apart from your perception. Everything you know about what's out there has always been happening in here. Maybe space isn't something we exist in. Maybe it's something we construct, a theater of awareness that makes separation seem real. The same goes for time. We treat it as a straight line, something we move along. But the past is memory. The future is imagination. And the present, even that flickers, moment by moment in the mind. Without attention, time disappears. Without memory, it never began. And maybe that's the illusion that holds all others together. The belief that the universe is separate from the one who observes it. But what if you're not in the universe? What if the universe is in you, not metaphorically, literally? What if the stars, the galaxies, the entire span of creation are all part of a story your mind tells itself to give shape to the mystery of being? It's not an idea meant to frighten, it's meant to liberate. Because once you see that everything you experience is happening within awareness, you begin to understand something deeper. You are not a small thing in a big universe. You are the space in which the idea of a universe appears. You are the awareness behind the eyes, the silence behind the thoughts, the stillness behind the stars, and the greatest illusion of all is forgetting that. So the next time you look up at the night sky, don't ask, what's out there? Ask, Who is looking, and where truly is the boundary between the two? Because once that question sinks in, the illusion begins to unravel, and you begin to remember what you've always been. A story about falling in love with the idea, not the person I used to think I was in love. The kind that burns slow and deep. The kind that poets write about and songs echo in whispers. But now I wonder, was it really love, or was it an illusion I wrapped around a person just to feel something beautiful? We met in the way stories often begin, a glance too long, a laugh too loud, that strange familiarity that makes you think, I know you, even if I shouldn't. And just like that, I started painting, not with brushes, but with my expectations, my hopes, my loneliness. I didn't fall in love with them. I fell in love with the version of them I built in my head, a character more than a human. They didn't lie. Not exactly, but I did. To myself. About what I needed. About who they were. Because the truth is, we often love not the person, but the feeling they give us. The mirror they hold up that reflects who we wish we were. And when that mirror cracks, when reality doesn't match the fantasy, we call it heartbreak. But what really breaks is the illusion. I remember one morning watching them stir coffee in silence. No words, no warmth. Just two people sitting next to each other but galaxies apart. And it hit me. We were never in love. We were just trying to escape ourselves in each other. We thought love would fix what was empty, fill in the cracks, make the silence less loud. But love, real love, doesn't work that way. It doesn't complete you. It reveals you. It strips away the illusions, the stories, the roles. And if what's left is still beautiful, then maybe, just maybe, it was real. But that time, it wasn't. It was just a dream I wanted so badly to be true that I kept my eyes closed long after it ended. A quiet unraveling of what's real. I used to believe in things, hard, absolute things. Success, time, identity, the future, even happiness, wrapped in a formula. You work, you earn, you rise. People clap, you smile. That's what I was taught. That's what they said was real. But then something shifted. Not all at once, not like a thunderclap. It was slower, like waking up underwater. It started with a conversation I overheard in a cafe. Two people laughing about how fake everything felt. How you doing? Living the dream, one said, but their eyes weren't in it. I watched them go quiet, and something in me broke open. I started seeing the cracks, the smiles that didn't reach the eyes, the jobs people hated but bragged about, the constant need to show, to prove, to perform, and it hit me. We live in illusions, illusions of control, of progress, of certainty, of self. We act like we know who we are, but most of us are just playing characters we didn't create. We picked them up from childhood, from pain, from praise, and then we forgot we were playing. We chase things we don't really want. We fear things that aren't even real. We compare ourselves to mirrors that aren't even reflecting us. And the saddest part, we don't even question it. Because illusion is most powerful when you believe it's the truth. But once you see it, once the illusion cracks, everything changes. You stop pretending. You stop running toward things that don't feed your soul. You start noticing the real, the raw, the quiet, the alive, the way the wind moves the leaves, the way a stranger's eyes soften. When you really listen, the feeling of simply being here, you realize you were never missing anything. You were just looking through the wrong lens, and now I still live in the world. I still play the game. But I remember it's a game. I remember the difference between the mask and the face beneath it. And some days, that's enough. To live without illusion, even for a moment, is to finally be free. The more we learn about the universe, the stranger it becomes. We used to think the world was solid, made of matter, tangible, predictable. But when we looked closer, we found something else. particles that behave like probabilities, forces that act differently when observed, reality that shifts the moment we look at it too closely. It's almost as if the universe isn't built from stuff, but from information, patterns, mathematics, rules, a framework, not unlike a simulation. Every tree, every mountain, every cell in your body obeys the same rules, the same code. From galaxies to gut bacteria, the fractals repeat. Everything echoes something else, over and over, like a system running instructions. If reality is that consistent, that coded, that intelligent, is it really so impossible to believe that it was programmed? Not necessarily by a human, not by a machine, but by something higher, something older, something conscious. And here you are, a being made of awareness, walking through a reality that might just be data. But here's the twist. The simulation isn't shallow. It's not fake. It's not meaningless. It's you that gives it meaning. It's you that makes the data come alive. Because if this is a simulation, then every decision you make in every act of kindness, every spark of curiosity is a piece of code rewriting itself. And that means you are not a prisoner of the simulation. You are its author. What if this world isn't outside of you, but inside a thought? Not a place you were born into, but a dream your soul chose to enter. Look around. Every sight, every sound, every face you see exists only because your mind perceives it. Close your eyes, and what remains? The body fades. The world dissolves. Yet you are still here. That quiet awareness. That watcher. Behind the curtain. It never changes. It just watches the dream play out. So maybe this simulation isn't made of circuits or silicon. Maybe it's made of something far more subtle. Consciousness. Because think about it. Your memories, your experiences, your entire story, they don't exist anywhere but inside your awareness. And when you sleep, the world disappears and is reborn the moment you wake. So what's real then? The world or the one experiencing it? Maybe this simulation isn't meant to deceive you, but to remind you that you're not just this body, not just this role, not just this version of you shaped by timelines and expectations. Maybe you are the observer, the spark, the dreamer of this world, and maybe the whole point isn't to escape the simulation, but to wake up inside it, to realize the beauty, the pain, the people, the lessons. They all came from you, and they're all leading you back to yourself. They built it so perfectly, and you never even thought to question it. Everything from the way the sky looks at dusk to the way you're expected to smile at strangers and hold back tears in public, it all feels normal, familiar, safe. But what if it's all part of the design? A system built not with steel and bars, but with pixels, patterns, and permission. We like to think we're free. We call it the real world. But how much of your world was ever really your choice? You didn't choose your name. You didn't choose your language. You didn't choose your fears or the blueprint of your desires. From the moment you opened your eyes, you were uploaded into a system, given an identity, fed a narrative, told what matters, get good grades, get a job, get likes, get old, repeat. But somewhere in that loop, a crack appears, a moment where you stop, look around, and ask, is this really all there is? Because if you're stuck in a loop long enough, eventually you notice the pattern. And when you notice the pattern, you're no longer asleep. Maybe that's why the distractions are so loud, the scrolling so endless, the fear of stillness so strong, because silence exposes the system. And if you look too closely, you'll see the lines in the code, the repetition, the illusion of freedom. But here's the twist. The simulation doesn't lock you in. You do. Every time you ignore your intuition, every time you silence that voice, inside that says, this doesn't feel right. The digital prison is real, but the key has always been in your hands. They say reality is the stage where life unfolds. But what if the stage is just a screen? What if everything you see, from the stars in the sky to the thoughts in your mind, is part of a simulation? Not a cold machine or a glitching game, but a living, breathing illusion, crafted with purpose. Think about it. Why does the universe behave like a formula? Why does nature follow rules so exact, so repeatable, as if written by an invisible hand? Why do your dreams feel real when you're inside them, but dissolve when you awaken? What if this world is the same? A dream running so smoothly, you forgot it wasn't the ultimate reality. Maybe this simulation isn't something to fear. Maybe it's a classroom, a mirror, a maze built not to trap you, but to reveal you. Because here, in this world of reflections and patterns, you learn what it means to hurt, to forgive, to lose, to love, to question everything. You were born into this program, yes, but you were not born to obey it. You were born to see through it, to look past the surface, to hear the silence between thoughts, to notice the things others overlook, the patterns, the shifts, the moments of deja vu. Those aren't accidents. They are breadcrumbs, clues, reminders that somewhere beyond this simulation, your true self is watching, waiting, not for the simulation to end, but for you to remember that you are more than a player. You are awareness. You are presence. You are the observer behind the screen. And maybe, just maybe, this entire world was created for the sole purpose of helping you wake up. Sometimes late at night, when the world slows down and the noise fades, I wonder, is this real? Not the walls around me, not the sky above me, but the entire thing. This life, this reality, this me. Is it all just part of something bigger? Something designed? Simulated? They say the universe follows patterns, mathematical precision, laws that never break, like lines of code. The way everything fits together, the way time moves, how gravity always pulls, how the stars burn just long enough for life to exist. And it almost feels too perfect, too calculated. So what if this world is a program, a highly advanced simulation crafted by something or someone far beyond our understanding? Would we even know? After all, we believe what our senses tell us, but our senses are limited. They only show us a fraction of what's really out there. If there's more dimensions, more truths, a deeper layer beneath the surface of what we call real. Would you want to see it? Would you want to break through? But here's the real question. Does it matter? Because even if this is a simulation, it's your simulation. You feel, you love, you break, you heal, you wonder. And maybe, just maybe, about that ability to question, to look at everything and still say, I don't know, but I want to understand. That's what makes you more than code, more than a character, more than a number in the system. Maybe it's not about escaping the simulation, but waking up inside it, becoming aware, becoming real in a world that may not be. And in that awareness, you find power, choice, the clarity. Because whether or not this is real, you are. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what if this isn't real? Not in the sense of dreaming or imagining, but in the sense of something simulated, crafted, designed. What if your entire existence is part of a program? A vast, intricate simulation running quietly in the background while you live your life, thinking it's all natural, all random, all real. But maybe it's not. Everything feels real. The warmth of sunlight, the taste of food, the weight of emotions, the sound of your own heartbeat. But in a world of advanced simulation, feelings can be mimicked. Memories can be inserted. entire lifetimes can be rendered in lines of code. In fact, if a civilization became advanced enough, like they could simulate worlds, entire histories. And if that's possible, then isn't it more likely that we're inside one, or rather than the creators of it? We build simulations already. Games, worlds, AI characters that act, speak, evolve. They don't know they're fake. So, how would we? What if this life, this moment, right now, is just part of a loop? A program running until it completes its cycle. Have you noticed how life tends to repeat? Same mistakes, same thoughts, same distractions. Wake up, scroll, work, sleep. The algorithm of existence. The loop continues, but deep down something feels off. A glitch in the normal. A quiet whisper that there's more. You feel it when you look up at the stars too long, when time slows, when your reflection doesn't quite feel like you. What if the simulation isn't meant to trap you, but to teach you? Maybe this world was designed to test something. Your growth, your choices, your awareness. Maybe waking up doesn't mean breaking out. It means seeing it clearly, living consciously, choosing freely, even inside the code. And maybe that's what makes you real. Because here's the paradox. Even if this is a simulation, your thoughts are still yours. Your love is still real. Your pain, your joy, your story, they still shape you. So ask the questions. Follow the curiosity, break the loop, look deeper. Because the moment you stop living automatically, the simulation begins to lose its power. And maybe, just maybe, that's what it was waiting for all along. Physics. We think of it as numbers, formulas, laws etched into the bones of the universe. Gravity pulls, energy transforms, light bends, time ticks. It's easy to treat it like a machine, cold, mechanical, precise, but when you slow down, when you really begin to look, you realize that physics isn't just science. It's the closest thing we have to a language that the universe speaks. Every atom is a letter, every law, a rhythm, every force, a whisper, and behind it all, something more than structure, something almost sacred. Because what is gravity really? It's not just an equation, it's the reason your feet touch the earth, the reason planets spin in silence, the reason the stars don't drift into nothingness. And what is time? We treat it like a ruler, a straight line. But time bends, it stretches, it slows down when you move faster, it disappears at the speed of light. How can something so familiar be so utterly strange? And then there's light, moving at the edge of forever, existing as both a particle and a wave. It's like reality itself can't decide what it wants to be. At the quantum level, the rules begin to blur. Particles appear and vanish. Objects exist in multiple states. Reality behaves like a probability, not a certainty. And the more we look, the weirder it gets. The observer changes the observed. The act of watching alters what's real. So you begin to wonder, what is real anyway? Is the world made of matter? Or is it made of mind? Is physics a description of the universe, or just a mirror reflecting the limits of how we think? Maybe physics is not about control. Maybe it's not about certainty. Maybe it's a meditation, a quiet way of listening to the fabric of existence as it hums softly beneath our lives. Because when you really begin to grasp what the laws of physics are telling us, you don't feel powerful, you feel small, and in that smallness you feel awe. The kind of awe that reminds you you are made of the same elements as stars. You are walking on a planet that is falling through space around a ball of fire. You are part of a universe so ordered, so elegant, that even chaos follows laws. And somewhere in the silence between numbers, you begin to hear the deeper message that this world, this strange, beautiful, impossible world, was never meant to be fully understood, only witnessed, only lived, only wondered at. Physics was supposed to explain everything. It was meant to bring order to chaos, to strip the mystery from the world and leave us with something clean, something certain. And for a while it did. We learned the laws, we discovered atoms, we split them open, we reached into the stars and pulled back answers. We thought, this is it. We're close. We almost understand everything. But then something strange happened. The deeper we looked, the weirder things became. We found particles that blink in and out of existence. We found matter that behaves like waves, and waves that behave like matter. We found that observing something changes it. That cause and effect might be an illusion. That time itself isn't constant. And at the smallest scales, reality no longer behaves. It dances, it flickers, it shrugs off logic and invites us into something far more poetic. Suddenly, physics stopped feeling like a rule book and started to feel like a riddle, a sacred one. We call it the standard model, but there's nothing standard about it. Why does anything have mass? Why does gravity pull but not push? Why are there forces that can pass through you right now as if you weren't even there? And then there's the universe itself. The equations work. They tell us how galaxies spin, how black holes curve space, how light takes the long way around. But they don't tell us why anything exists, why there's something instead of nothing, why the laws are the way they are, or why they work at all. Physics gives us precision, but not purpose. It gives us patterns, but not meaning. It takes us to the edge of the universe and whispers, this is how things behave, but it never says, this is why they're here. And maybe that's the point. Maybe physics isn't about closing the mystery. Maybe it's about deepening it. Because the further we go, the more we realize the universe isn't made of things. It's made of relationships, fields, forces, vibrations. Everything that looks solid is mostly empty. Everything that feels permanent is in motion. And everything we thought we knew is only a piece of a larger puzzle that we're still just beginning to see. So, no, physics hasn't answered everything, but maybe that's its gift, not to explain the mystery away, but to show us just how vast it really is. Because when you stare into the equations long enough, you begin to feel it, that this universe, this fragile, impossible, glorious machine was never built to be solved. It was built to be witnessed, to be felt, to be marveled at by beings who somehow are made of the same particles they're trying to understand. You touch a table, it feels solid, stable, heavy. It doesn't question your presence, it holds you up. But physics says that table is mostly empty space. The atoms that make it up, tiny nuclei surrounded by vast clouds of electrons, spinning, repelling, moving in silence. If you could scale an atom up to the size of a football stadium, the nucleus would be a grain of rice at the center. The rest? Nothing. Space. So what are you touching when you touch something? You're not feeling the object, you're feeling the resistance, a pushback, the electric repulsion between the electrons in your hand and the electrons in the table. You never really make contact. Nothing ever touches anything else, and yet you feel it. It's hard, it's warm, it's real. So what's real? Physics pulls back the curtain and reveals a strange truth. The world isn't made of things. It's made of fields, of interactions, of forces that pretend to be form. We build our lives on the illusion of solidity. We form identities. We form attachments. We anchor ourselves to a world that feels unmoving. But underneath it all, it's all movement, all uncertainty, all vibration, even you. Your body, your thoughts, your memories, like a collection of particles obeying laws you didn't write and barely understand. You are not a thing, you are a process, a wave function collapsing in every moment, a probability becoming a person. Just long enough to ask what it all means. So what does it mean? Maybe it means that nothing is as separate as it seems, that we're not objects in space, we are space, organized, briefly awake, and when the illusion fades, when the form dissolves, what's left isn't nothing, It's the silence behind the structure, the field that gave birth to it all. Still humming, still here, still watching. There's a law in physics that almost no one talks about, but it shapes everything you know. Entropy, the tendency for systems to move from order to disorder, from structure to scatter, from patterns to dust. We don't notice it in the moment, but it's always there, like a quiet background hum gently unraveling the universe. Your body, your thoughts, your memories, the stars in the sky, the warmth in your coffee, all of it is subject to entropy. It's why ice melts, why buildings crumble, why memories fade, why everything that begins eventually ends. Entropy is the reason time feels like it moves forward. In physics, most equations don't care if time runs backward, but entropy does. You never see smoke gather itself back into a match. You never uncrack an egg. You never grow younger, because entropy increases. Always. It's not personal, it's not cruel, it's just the cost of having a universe with choices, with possibility, with life. Without entropy, there would be no time, no evolution, no growth, no decay. Nothing would happen. Everything would remain still. So this slow drift toward disorder, it's not a flaw. It's the music of time, the pulse of existence. But it does make you think. If everything we love, everything we build, everything we are, is destined to dissolve into disorder, then what truly lasts? Not the structure, not the form, but maybe the awareness that watched it all, the moment of presence, the fleeting beauty of knowing something existed, if only for a while. Maybe that's what gives life its meaning. Not permanence, but impermanence. Because if nothing lasted, then every moment matters. Every sunrise is the last of its kind. Every breath, a small rebellion against the pull of entropy. Every act of love, a brief refusal to let the universe fall apart, quietly and unnoticed. Entropy is the fate of all things, but in the space between order and collapse, we get this. A life, a flicker, a fragile flame. And that, just maybe, is enough. Out there, scattered across the galaxy, are places where the rules break. Not metaphorically, literally. They are called black holes, but that name feels small for what they truly are, because a black hole isn't a thing. It's a boundary, a limit, a one-way door in the fabric of space and time. A star dies, but instead of fading, it collapses, falls inward, beyond pressure, beyond matter, beyond comprehension. It becomes so dense, so infinitely compressed, that it rips a hole in reality itself. We call this point the singularity, an idea so extreme, even our best math falls apart in its presence. Around it, the event horizon, a silent threshold, the place where gravity becomes absolute, where escape becomes impossible. Not for ships, not for sound, not even for light. To an outside observer, time slows near the edge, clocks stretch, moments distort. From your perspective, you fall in, but to the universe watching, you freeze, forever suspended on the edge of nowhere. And here's where it gets stranger. Black holes aren't just devourers. They shape galaxies. They bend time. They encode information. They're not just the end of stars. They might be the beginning of understanding. Some physicists believe the entire universe may have been born from something like a black hole in reverse, an explosion instead of a collapse, the Big Bang, as a mirror of cosmic death. And if that's true, then everything we are comes from the same laws that create the very voids we fear. So black holes are not monsters. They are mysteries. They challenge the arrogance of certainty. They remind us that the universe is not obliged to be intuitive. It can be strange. It can be silent. And yet, it can still be beautiful. Because within these cosmic abysses are clues. Clues about gravity, about quantum mechanics, about the soul of time itself. We may never cross the event horizon. We may never see what lies beyond. But we stand at the edge and listen. And in that listening, we are changed. Because in the darkest places of the cosmos, where light cannot escape, we sometimes find the brightest questions. We live inside time. Or at least that's how it feels. Seconds pass, moments stack. We move from past to future, carried forward like leaves on a river. But physics doesn't see it that way. In the equations that describe the universe, there is no now, no ticking clock, no universal present. The laws of physics don't care which direction time flows. They work the same, forward or backward, and yet we remember the past, not the future. We age in one direction. We are born, not unborn. We live and then we die. So why does time feel real when the universe treats it like a coordinate? Some physicists believe time isn't a flow at all, but a landscape, a vast structure where past, present, and future all exist simultaneously, like a mountain range. You don't move through it. You are simply in one place on it, right now. Just as every location in space exists, every moment in time might, too. Even the ones you haven't lived yet, even the ones long gone. In this view, you are not traveling through time, you are stretched across it, a being extended in 4 dimensions. So what is memory then? What is the feeling of time passing? Maybe it's not a current, maybe it's just consciousness, drifting across the surface of a block of moments that already exist. And death? Maybe that's not the end. Maybe it's simply the last page in a book that was always written. You'll never leave the past behind because you never truly left it at all. You're still there, smiling, crying, laughing at something forgotten, and somewhere ahead you're still walking into a future you haven't met yet, but which has already been shaped. So what do we do if time is not a flow, but a shape? If the moment you're in was always going to be, maybe we stop running, maybe we breathe, maybe we learn to live not as passengers of time, but as artists, carving beauty into the moments we've been given. Because even if time is an illusion, this feeling, this fleeting miracle of being, it still matters, even if it's already happened. Physics was supposed to explain everything. It was meant to bring order to chaos, to strip the mystery from the world and leave us with something clean, something certain. And for a while it did. We learned the laws, we discovered atoms, we split them open, we reached into the stars and pulled back answers. We thought, this is it. We're close. We almost understand everything. But then something strange happened. The deeper we looked, the weirder things became. We found particles that blink in and out of existence. We found matter that behaves like waves, and waves that behave like matter. We found that observing something changes it. That cause and effect might be an illusion. That time itself isn't constant. And at the smallest scales, reality no longer behaves. It dances, it flickers, it shrugs off logic and invites us into something far more poetic. Suddenly, physics stopped feeling like a rule book and started to feel like a riddle, a sacred one. We call it the standard model, but there's nothing standard about it. Why does anything have mass? Why does gravity pull but not push? Why are there forces that can pass through you right now as if you weren't even there? And then there's the universe itself. The equations work. They tell us how galaxies spin, how black holes curve space, how light takes the long way around. But they don't tell us why anything exists, why there's something instead of nothing, why the laws are the way they are, or why they work at all. Physics gives us precision, but not purpose. It gives us patterns, but not meaning. It takes us to the edge of the universe and whispers, this is how things behave. But it never says, this is why they're here. And maybe that's the point. Maybe physics isn't about closing the mystery. Maybe it's about deepening it. Because the further we go, the more we realize the universe isn't made of things. It's made of relationships, fields, forces, vibrations. Everything that looks solid is mostly empty. Everything that feels permanent is in motion. And everything we thought we knew is only a piece of a larger puzzle that we're still just beginning to see. So, no, physics hasn't answered everything, but maybe that's its gift. Not to explain the mystery away, but to show us just how vast it really is. Because when you stare into the equations long enough, you begin to feel it. That this universe, this fragile, impossible, glorious machine, was never built to be solved. It was built to be witnessed, to be felt, to be marveled at by beings who somehow are made of the same particles they're trying to understand. Physics. We think of it as numbers, formulas, laws etched into the bones of the universe. Gravity pulls, energy transforms, light bends, time ticks. It's easy to treat it like a machine, cold, mechanical, precise, but when you slow down, when you really begin to look, you realize that physics isn't just science. It's the closest thing we have to a language that the universe speaks. Every atom is a letter, every law, a rhythm, every force, a whisper, and behind it all, something more than structure, something almost sacred. Because what is gravity really? It's not just an equation, it's the reason your feet touch the earth, the reason planets spin in silence, the reason the stars don't drift into nothingness. And what is time? We treat it like a ruler, a straight line. But time bends, it stretches, it slows down when you move faster, it disappears at the speed of light. How can something so familiar be so utterly strange? And then there's light, moving at the edge of forever, existing as both a particle and a wave. It's like reality itself can't decide what it wants to be. At the quantum level, the rules begin to blur. Particles appear and vanish. Objects exist in multiple states. Reality behaves like a probability, not a certainty. And the more we look, the weirder it gets. The observer changes the observed. The act of watching alters what's real. So you begin to wonder, what is real anyway? Is the world made of matter? Or is it made of mind? Is physics a description of the universe, or just a mirror reflecting the limits of how we think? Maybe physics is not about control. Maybe it's not about certainty. Maybe it's a meditation, a quiet way of listening to the fabric of existence as it hums softly beneath our lives. Because when you really begin to grasp what the laws of physics are telling us, you don't feel powerful, you feel small, and in that smallness you feel awe. The kind of awe that reminds you you are made of the same elements as stars. You are walking on a planet that is falling through space around a ball of fire. You are part of a universe so ordered, so elegant, that even chaos follows laws. And somewhere in the silence between numbers, you begin to hear the deeper message that this world, this strange, beautiful, impossible world, was never meant to be fully understood, only witnessed, only lived, only wondered at.